We're live, brother. How you doing, man?
Hey, pretty good. Obviously it was heartbreaking loss, man. Tell the two halves. Tell the two halves. You go through here, and I'm reading kind of the comments and stuff, and people are getting ready to fire, the defensive coordinator. Hey, it's time for a redo. Let's bring back Chris Ash. And we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about that defense because it was tell the two halves for them in the first half. PK couldn't call a bad play. You know what I'm saying? And then it got away from him in the second half. So before we start here, I told Jeremy there's two things that I'm going to do before we get on here, man. So if there's any Oklahoma guys on here listening to us, or hell, trolls that are probably going to jump in our comments at some particular point, two things, man. You got to give them their props, man. They fought, they battled. Hell, they were down 28-7 at one particular point. It looked like we were about to run off of the game. And they put their big boy pants on and they showed up in the second half and they did what they needed to beat us. One. Number two, Caleb Williams, man, he's a special dude, man. You're going to have to worry about him probably for the next 3 years. And you're probably, and I won't get to that yet, he's special, man. He's special. Anybody that could come off the bench the way he did, under duress at some particular points, dropping snaps, picking them up. And I think Jeremy's probably going to talk about the 50-50 balls a little bit. You got to give him his props, man. Your thoughts on the game before we get into these five things.
But the first 2 points, have a drink with Clint and Jeremy. Clint's drinking a Dos Equis. I'm drinking a Moscow Mule after that, football game. Because, again, I'm looking at totality, right? So the macro picture to me is when Oklahoma walked into this season as the number 1 or number 2 team in the country, and Texas was not even a forethought. Did you ever think you were going to find yourselves 28-7 ahead of them in the first quarter? That's my first thought. Absolutely not. You didn't. But you had that. The problem was you found a way to get outscored through the totality of the game by a total of 55-48. So there's a lot to grow from. I'll say that first off. Like you said, the OU fight from quarter one through the totality of the game and never giving up, and not Steve Sarkisian, but Lincoln Riley, again, benching Spencer Rattler and bringing Caleb Williams in to change the game, totally changed this game. And like you talked about, he is a difference maker. To kid yourself and say he's not, but a lot of his plays downfield were 50-50 balls. Like I'm fumbling the snap times 2, and I'm throwing the ball up to Marvin Mims. He's catching the ball for B.J. Foster times 2. Like it happened over and over and over again where we couldn't, make the play we needed to make in order to get them off the field and, again, play complementary football when he had a chance to. And that's why the defense got gassed in the second half.
Yeah, and that's my fifth point in the points I have here. Second one is, I think I talked about it, Steve Sarkisian, obviously his first taste of the Red River rivalry, man. This is a showdown, shootout, whatever you want to call it. This is a momentum game. And I think the momentum changed when Deshaun Jameson, obviously Kennedy Brooks got out there for that long run. I think Deshaun Jameson came over the top of it, ripped it out of his hands, and it wound up not being a fumble because his knee was down. But that was a momentum change, man. And this is what this game is all about. There's no home field advantage on either side. It's funny because you can't even go use the bathroom because somebody starts screaming, but you don't know who's screaming. You don't know what crowds are going crazy, and he's going to have to adjust to that. He's been in big games, national championship games as a play caller. But as a head coach, this is the game every year that he's going to have to understand that it's going to come down to obviously players on the field. It's going to come down to the schemes and making adjustments in game. And then number 3, it's going to come down to momentum. Who turns the momentum over, and how do you get it back? How do you get it back? So that's my number 3, man. Your thoughts on Steve Sarkisian's first Red River rivalry?
No, he jumped on them. Like the first 15 plays, what we talked about last night, was where I felt like we could get the jump. And like we talked about last night, take the ball to open the first half, go down and score, which is exactly what they did on the first play of the game. Get the momentum on your side, and it continued to roll and roll and roll. The problem was after 28-7 in the first quarter, we didn't have the ability to continue to do that. Like they were able to make adjustments on our offensive line, but their defensive front and continue to stop Bijan. Yeah, Bijan had that beautiful carry where he broke eight tackles and got down to the 1-yard line. But there was not any of those like true busts. And I talked about it yesterday. I was like, explosive plays are going to equal who wins this football game. Penalties are going to equal what wins this football game. We only had 13 more penalty yards than they did, but it seemed like that we had like 10 penalties and they had nothing, going into the fourth quarter. and I think that led to the momentum. But they made adjustments, with their defensive line, which we thought they would do. And unfortunately, they were able to stop our run, which put the ball in Casey's hands. And Casey got nicked up, had a thumb injury, sometime in the second quarter that he, was probably laboring with, just like everybody's talking about the defensive line. Coburn got nicked. Jacoby Jones, your best pass rusher, got nicked and tossed out of the game in the second quarter. So in the trenches is where we thought this game would be decided. Unfortunately, our trenches didn't match up with their trenches in the second half.
Yeah. Next thing, man, Xavier Worthy's special, dude. What, 270 yards receiving? Close to it? He's special, man. He's special. For those, that looked at the TCU game and says, man, he didn't show up. Well, she showed up for this damn game. It's crazy because we had talked about how the offense should run. And it started off like that. You know what I'm saying? It was horizontal pass game, leaned to Bijan running almost for 100 yards in the first half. And then Casey Thompson be able to connect on these long, play action pass, balls, man, which was is what we did. And then somehow, some way, obviously Grinch made his adjustments in the second half, and they stymied Bijan Robinson. If you don't have Bijan Robinson going, man, it's hard to get the rest of that game going as well.
Yeah, and tunnel screens and screenplays were probably there in the second half, and that's why we should have went with, and we talked about that because they were coming after Casey. They trusted their front four to be able to get penetration on our offensive line, and then we needed to bust them behind the linebackers. And it was close a couple times, we just didn't hit it. And then you relied on, again, Xavier Worthy and that combination with Thompson to get you down the field, and you got back to 48-48, and I really felt good about it at that point. Like, you scored the last touchdown, they took a touchback. You got it behind the chains initially on that possession, but they found a way to move the ball down the field and ultimately score a touchdown when I really thought they were going to have to end up with a 50-yard field goal to win this football game or send it to overtime, which was really, really disappointing. That's the only time I was truly disappointed in this football team, was that direct snap to Kennedy Brooks that broke for 55 yards when the game was in a balance. But I don't know what defense was called. I don't know if they, played the right defense, if the defense that was called for that kind of spacing and or coverage. But ultimately, it's 55-48 at the end of the day.
Yeah, so there's 202 people in here right now. I understand you may be upset by the game, but if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, we definitely appreciate it. We're on here, win, lose, or draw, right after these football games, man. And we take all your pain that you put in those comments, and we'll get to those here in a few minutes. Again, this is probably not going to be a true analysis of the football game or a stats covered show at this particular point. Last thing I got to say is, how do you go all gas, no brakes, and somewhat protect your defense when you're scoring fast, one, or number two, you're going 3 and out and you're putting your defense back on the field?
I kind of talked about this last year with Mike Yurcich and Chris Ash. Like, they're not the same. It's not the same game plan. Like, Mike Yurcich's job is to score every possession he gets, regardless of how many snaps it takes. Whether it's 1, 2, 3 snaps or if it's 10-play drive. Chris Ash's job back then was to stop the offense from scoring. So the same thing with Steve Sarkisian and 𝗟𝗞𝗘 𝗦𝗧. If Steve Sarkisian is trying to score the ball as fast as he possibly can in order to put points on the board, to put pressure on the offense of the other team, and it's PK's job to stop them. So all gas, no brakes. Yes, it's definitely an offensive game plan. I think it's the same way on the defense when you're talking about putting pressure on the quarterback, which we did in the first half. Like, that first quarter was all gas, no brakes. It was 28-7. You continued to score. They stopped. You went down and scored again, but it wasn't the totality of the football game. The first quarter was all gas, no brakes. It was complimentary football. We're going to stop you. We're going to go down and score. But ultimately, over 4 quarters, it didn't happen.
Brian Rodriguez right here. They don't play defense in the Big 12. Go back and look at that Ole Miss Arkansas football game. I think they might have outscored Oklahoma and Texas. And I believe those aren't 2 Big 12 schools either, man. Those are SEC schools. So it's the way the ball's going right now, man. It's the way to go. Most smart coaches are trying to figure out what offensive guys they're going to bring in to be able to put up as much points as they possibly can. But what I don't want Texas to be, and this is, again, if you look at Oklahoma that's been in the college football playoff over the last couple of years, The only thing that's really kept them from a national championship is their defensive play. And I don't want us to get into the mentality of let's try to outscore everyone, and then at the end of the game, it's 52-50. So we definitely need to get this damn defense together. Again, if you go through it, it's obviously 11 guys on the defense side of the ball that the one that have to make plays. I told a friend of mine, he's a UCLA fan. I told him at half, because I felt really good, that the calls were there. Rattler just don't go out there and do what he did in the first half and to get benched for Caleb Williams because the defensive coordinator is not calling the right plays. It comes down to is the scheme there, and are your players playing to that scheme to ensure that when someone gets the ball, are you putting them on the ground? Because there were multiple times we had an opportunity to get Caleb Williams on the ground. What did we do? We miss him. He gets out there. He chunks the ball up for like 50 yards, and then our defensive backs can't make a play on it. But if the defensive backs would have played the way they did in the first half, we would have had a whole bunch of different comments in the section here because they did show up in the first half. Because there's no way Spencer Rattler's going, I don't know what his numbers were. No touchdowns, an interception. And I think he had probably less than a 50% completion rate when he came in at damn near 80%. So think that the defensive backs didn't show up for the first half. The wheels just fell off in the second half for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's just overworked. Like you said, you can't really, play all gas, no brakes, continue to score in 2-play drives. They were a lot of explosives, and that's what I thought the game would come down to, is explosive plays for us versus explosive plays for them. The problem is we got most of our explosive plays in the first quarter. They were able to do that over 3 quarters. And ultimately on that last play, I think things are different. Like you said, if we knock down those 50-50 balls, or he's not able to pick up the snap that he fumbles on the ground, but at the same time, I'm not making excuses. At the end, you lost 55-48, and you got to get better.
So the number one thing I have here going forward for Texas, right? Moving forward with Coach Sark and PK, and again, they're coming in as new coordinators, and I'm not saying, hey, let's just throw it up and see how this year goes, right? But again, you got to recruit your guys. That makes sense? And right now, we don't have those guys sitting in the trench that Kyle Flood needs. Casey Thompson was under duress the entire football game. And that is our number one priority moving forward. And everybody knows that it sits here and talks to us, right, about recruiting. To me, you got to go to those recruits, man, that were sitting in that game tonight and say, hey, you know what? I need you. I need you. We can put up the points. You can make a difference.
Yep.
On the offensive side of the ball, I don't think you're going to have a hard time getting recruits to come play for Steve Sarkisian with the way that the offense looked. Evan Stewart seeing that freaking Xavier Worthy going for 270 yards in the Red River rivalry. What does Evan Stewart tell him? That your defense is not good enough, so I don't want to come play for you? Absolutely not. Where am I going to go where I can get the ball? In space and make plays happen.
Again, for these guys who are jumping off ship, if I would have told you Texas was 4-1, and at some point during the game against Oklahoma, they were up 28-7 in the first quarter, you would have taken that all day long. So you guys who are jumping ship and saying we've lost all these recruits, this season is over. We're going to see these guys again in January, and it's probably going to make a whole hell of a lot of difference then, because it's probably going to be for a trophy. So you guys need to stay on board, support this team through Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Iowa State, instead of jumping on ship against Oklahoma, a team that was, again, a top 2 team coming into the country, and you were an afterthought. So figure it out, guys, in my mind.
Yeah. So I had that. I said, how do you pick yourself off the grounds or off the mat, however you want to look at it? Because in my mind, there's a good possibility you're probably going to see this same Oklahoma team in Dallas, but it really comes back to, what does Steve Sarkisian tell those players in that locker room? He's going to give them the day off tomorrow. What do they do? What is their focus when they go in on Monday, knowing that they got Oklahoma State, who had a bye this week, that's going to want to come into DKR and beat you? But there's no way. To me, this team is good, man. This team is good. I don't want to look. Defense gave up a whole bunch of yards and a whole bunch of plays in the second half. But this defense this team in totality is good. We finally got a head coach with 3 minutes on the clock in the fourth quarter, where I feel like that it's probably going to be 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to go down there and score. that you don't have someone that's going to let off, their foot off the gas when it's 28-7. He's still going to consistently try to put points on the board.
Yeah, no, you got outscored 18-0 in the fourth quarter, and then you went down and scored. Like, the momentum was all on their side, and you figured out a way to go down there and tie the football game up after you got your ass kicked, 35-3. I'm sorry, 28-3 over 2 quarters. They scored 10 points in the third quarter. You scored 3. They had 18 points in the third quarter when you went down and scored. Like, you got your ass kicked for 2 quarters. And the second quarter as well. They won the third quarter or the second quarter 13-10. And so you got your ass kicked for 3 straight quarters of football. You found a way to go down and score to tie the football game up with a minute and a half to play. It's just your defense was so tired at the end of the game that they couldn't stop them.
This is my coach, man. Sark said in his press conference he wants to meet them in Dallas again. I don't know how true that is. I'm not listening to the press game or to the post game press conference for Steve Sarkisian, but Robert Overcash saying Stark said press conference he wants to meet them in Dallas again. You got to keep that mentality, and that's what we have not had. We lose to an Oklahoma team, or we lose to another team. Then all of a sudden it was like a downward spiral, and all of a sudden you wind it up like 7-5 at the end of the year. I don't want us to be 7-5 at the end of the year. There's no reason that we should not be able to go toe-to-toe with any of these other football teams on a scheme and talent level that we have left in the Big 12. Yeah, do we have to go to West Virginia? Yeah, but I think they're like 2-3 now, right? You got to go to Iowa State. You got to go to Ames. Who wants to go to Ames? Nobody really wants to go to Ames. But that's an opportunity. But again, people just like, again, the whole defense piece. What did your defense do in the first half? They were
where they needed to be. Yeah.
They were where they needed to be at. So it's really getting them consistently be able to play over 4 quarters and not fall apart. But again, this is a momentum shift game. So,
and it will always be those guys. Dan, forgive me if I pronounce, or David, forgive me if I pronounce your last name wrong. Probably Smoss. You guys keep me going after a tough, heartbreaking loss. I appreciate you guys getting on here after a tough. And then we'll always be those guys. As bad as it sucks, we'll always be those guys who hop on here after the post-game show with common sense. You can't turn the coaching staff over. You can't turn the players over in 1 year. That's why we enjoy recruiting so much. We understand the totality of football and how rosters put together and how a team is put together and how we got to take incremental gains, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Today it was 2 steps forward and 2 steps back because you were up on Oklahoma with at the end of the first quarter, 28-7. You found a way to lose the football game, 55-48. But we're not those woe is me, cancel the show, fire Steve Sarkisian, fire Pete Kwiatkowski. No, you got to grow this program, and we only want fans to watch our channel to be like we are. We're not. I don't think we're orange-colored glasses all the time. I think we call it like it is, but at the same time, like I said, if I would have told you the season started, you'd been 4-1 going this football game at 28-7 up on Oklahoma at the end of the first quarter, I think you'd have taken it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody would have took it. I just think that's, again, to me, it's how do we come out of this game? You showed, again, that defense for Oklahoma was supposed to be one of the best in the country. I think they were currently sitting at 42 or something in the country when we came in here. And you showed your offense could pretty much do whatever they wanted to in the first half. They made adjustments in the second half. They made really good adjustments in the second half. I think they might have shut Bijan down altogether in the second half. So they knew you were going to try to run the ball. They stacked the box. They got their guys out wide. They turned it back in, and they made the tackles when they needed to make the tackles.
You can pump one up whenever you think. Whatever you think.
Just looking here.
I know it's a lot of negative, man, and they can keep coming. Like, we don't stop. They can say the defense is atrocious. We blew this lead, that lead. Yeah, we all watch the football game. We get it. Like I said, Steve Sarkisian and his coaching staff's job and these players' job is to get better, once they get back to Austin on Monday and Tuesday. You could keep dogging them and talking mess like you want to, but ultimately it's not going to make a bit of difference to this football team.
Yeah. Kyle Craven here. Also, we should have tried. That's not the one I wanted. Yeah. Also, we should have tried for a touchdown at the end of the first half. I don't think that he did not try to. I think he went deep a couple of times at the end of the first half. They didn't hit those. You know what I'm saying? Like they were at the beginning of the first half. Today was a ton of gas, some breaks. Still love Sark and his team, and team is super good, but everyone has work to do, including the coaches. Absolutely. Again, this was Steve Sarkisian's first taste of what team, outside of when we go to the SEC, what team you're really going to have to play tough each and every year in order to give you a shot to be able to beat the Big 12 champ, beat the Big 12 champs, because again, they've won it so many times in a row. And until you beat them and you take that Big 12 championship away from them, you got to knock the guy off the top of the mountain. So we got work to do. Everybody's got work to do, to include me and Jeremy.
Yeah, like Drew said, we're allowed to be pissed. Yes, you definitely are allowed to be pissed. And you can write your comments here. What I'm saying is you got to look at the macro. Like, you're allowed to be pissed that you lost Oklahoma after having a 28-7 lead after the first quarter. I've said it multiple times today that it matters. Like, this was a game that you could have solidified yourself and probably put yourself back in the conversation with the college football playoff if you continue to run the table. So, yeah, I'm pissed. I'm heartbroken. I'm just like you. But at the same time, I look at the macro effect of this loss or this team's performance. And like you, I haven't had a chance to go back and watch the film, so I don't know who sucked and who didn't. But you guys are quick to point out those things without a total film evaluation. And just like William, I don't know if you've ever played any kind of competitive sports, but this is a loss that spills over to other losses. Yeah, only if you look at it that way. If you allow it to eat you up for a week and figure out, understand what you did wrong and keep solidifying that, or keep doing that same thing you did the week prior, that's the only time it leads to more losses.
This one too, this loss will haunt Texas if they allow it to do it. You know what I'm saying? To me, I'm coming out hungry and angry on Monday. You know what I'm saying? You lost the game you should have won. You lost the game you were up you were up double digits for majority of the game until the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter. So it is what it is. I'm glad we're everybody's vent session after a football game, and this is where we're always going to be at: win, lose, or draw. Some people call it therapy. I call it drink a beer, get around the cooler, and enjoy. The comments.
Another Saturday.
The comments here.
Beautiful weather, right?
Yeah. So.
And guess what? I got Alabama and A&M to watch later too.
Yep.
See how that one's going to end up.
We'll see where it goes, man. How long you want to go on here?
Probably another 6-7 minutes.
Okay. Just want to go through some of these comments, man. Somebody, he said, laugh out loud. It's therapy. I want to get this one off of here, Jeremy.
Oh, I think I already did. I hope.
No, it's still there, Jeremy. He said we put up 70 on our next opponent. Let's go. Probably.
I thought we were going for 70 this game, to be honest with you. I thought after 28-point first quarter, I thought we were headed there. After a 38-point first half, I thought we were headed there. But yeah, definitely the offense has a lot of things going in their direction. Like you said, with the Bijan Robinson, Casey Thompson, Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington. Don't know what his injury is right now, but if we could just shore up that offensive line just a little bit, not be so leaky, I feel like this team has the ability to score 70 points on just about anybody they play. I mean, they kind of showed it today. Like I said, 38 points in the first half against what people have talked about was the best Oklahoma defense in the past decade. You scored 38 points. You're winning 38 to 20.
In the first half. All we need is Bijan, Casey, Witt, and Worthy to show up every game. Sure, definitely don't know what's going on with Whittington at this particular point. Hopefully he's okay. Looks like he's got a shoulder or arm issue. It's been hit and miss with all these guys. If we're being honest, I think so. I think today, if you look at it, you had Worthy, Moore both showed up. We've been talking about the long ball for how long? Being able to hit those long shots for how long? And what happened today? They showed up and they hit them, making contested catches. And think about how long you got these guys, too. Bijan's here next year. Casey could be here next year. Worthy's definitely going to be here for the next couple of years. So your offense in totality is really not going nowhere. Like Jeremy said, it's about fixing that offensive line so that you feel like your quarterback's not under duress on every play. You know what I'm saying? Where you feel like you don't have to run outside the pocket, or goodness gracious, he's going to have to step up in the pocket. If you don't step on the pocket, he's going to take a sack. So your offense, do I think from a recruiting standpoint, do I think the recruits that are out there today, all 90 of them that are sitting in the stands, I think you won some of them today on both sides of the ball. And the reason is because you have an opportunity to come help fix this. That's on the precipice. I truly believe that. You go back and look at the coaches, man, and you look at the players we currently have on the opposite side of the ball. There's only a couple of weaknesses or tweaks that we really need to make in the recruiting game to get ourselves in a position to be able to play at a level we haven't played in a long time.
Yeah, it's just a couple of position groups that we've talked about. The offensive line, needs some help. I feel like, the receiving core could use a little bit of depth. Although if Worthy, like you said a little bit earlier, if Worthy, Whittington, and Moore play like they should every single week, but again, it's going to take Casey getting time to do that. If you shore up the offensive line, and I feel like the secondary at times, but like I said, today I feel like they covered well. They were in the right spots. They just got beat by a couple of 50-50 balls that just beat them over the top.
Yeah. Thomas Higdon, OU fan here, thought we were toast. Worst thing that could happen for your team was they're playing so poorly. They had to make a change. Absolutely. You went to a dual threat quarterback, so now you got to change up your defensive scheme in the middle of a football game where you have to worry about your quarterback being an extra person on the field that you didn't really have to worry about in the first part of the game. Thomas played very well. We appreciate you, man. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, Oklahoma, man, showed some heart today with that comeback victory. They did, because we thought you were toast too. If you looked at the end of the first half, I was like, damn, I definitely didn't think we were going to be here. Like 0. You know what I'm saying? Thompson did play well, man. I think, what'd you say? He tied the most touchdowns in Red River Rivalry.
Yeah, 5 touchdowns is the record for Red River Showdown. 20 for 34 for 388. 5 touchdowns. Unbelievable performance by Casey Thompson, all under duress. Like I said, he really never had a clean pocket after the first quarter. I felt like we got the ball in his hands like the game plan said we should. In the first quarter, he held the ball a little bit longer in the second, third, and fourth quarter because I think they were playing a little clog and cover. And then once the second half started, they were trying to pressure him. So their game plan kind of moved from, hey, we're going to show him some coverage in the first quarter. He beat that coverage with a whole lot of getting the ball out of his hands early, and guys like Xavier Worthy making plays. Like the first play of the game was a 75-yard, touchdown, and then he kind of moved to we're gonna pressure him in the second half and make him make plays.
Chance Pettis, Oklahoma gave them 14 free points. Let's talk about that. No
block punt.
Yeah, but again, no points are free. I don't get off where people would say points are for free. Because you either make the play or you don't make the play. You either put yourself in a position where you get a short field or you don't get a short field. So as far as being free, I don't agree with that. Hell, there's many a times where, if you go back to look at the TCU game, you could call those free points where we had really good field position, but we couldn't score a touchdown. We were kicking field goals.
No,
so go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, let me help Chance out a little bit. So the Marvin Overshow made a sack on third down, which caused you to have to punt inside your 5-yard line, which our punt team has shown they have the propensity to block kicks, which they turned around and did. So no points are free. No interceptions are free. No fumbles are free. Like, they earned every point they got today, all 48 of them. You didn't give us anything.
If you're an Oklahoma fan, I'm not sure if you're an Oklahoma fan. So,
but I don't care. Like, no points are free.
Going to go through a couple more of these. People are saying don't blame the refs. The refs didn't really. To me, that's what you're always kind of scared of, is how the Big 12 refs are going to really change the way the game goes. But today you didn't see it at all.
A lot of replays. It felt like in the first half, just about every close play got replayed, which you want them to get it right. But it kind of took, the game out of its sequence and a lot of, stops there, for a guy that went out of bounds, came back in, caught the ball, but he reestablished position. But, it's one of those things where, yeah, I didn't think the refs really made a major play in it. I thought we were disciplined just like they were. I think we had 50 yards, less than 50 yards of penalties. I don't think they had, very many at all themselves, but just had to win the football game.
Absolutely. We got a super chat here from Leon Lemuel. I don't know if we've seen you before, Leon. We appreciate you joining us on here, man. A hook on, brother. We don't have a dominant interior defensive line like years past. Cobra needs to make more plays. Is the middle linebacker an issue for Texas? Again, everybody wants to hammer Brockermeyer, but every time I see him, he's around the ball. You know what I'm saying? Do I think that there's a talent upgrade there at that position? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Somebody said it earlier. Brockermeyer and Bush, they may be good players for the University of Texas, but there's definitely a talent upgrade out there in like a Harold Perkins or one of these linebackers that you may have recruited into the class that are going to be definitely upgrades to what you're currently working with now. But you got to think about it. Coaches have to take the players they have that fit their scheme based on whatever level of player you think they are. That makes sense? Because Adeyewale, who is a high 4-star guy that could play middle linebacker, may not be playing because he doesn't fit what PK is trying to do on the defensive side of the ball. So
absolutely, like this coaching staff, again, we've talked about it ad nauseum, has not had a recruiting class. Like the 2021 class was not their guys. They've had to make what they. When Jeff Banks looks at the special teams, I'm sure he doesn't see Alabama athletes. When Steve Sarkisian looks at the offense, I'm sure he doesn't see Alabama athletes. But at the same time, they've got this group playing at a level that I feel can compete for the Big 12 conference. Like, I feel like we're going to see this team again in December. And I feel like on a neutral field in Dallas again. And we just got to make the most of a 28-7, lead in the first quarter. Like, we have to be able to get our offensive line better. We have to be able to get our defensive line better. We can't lose those 50-50 balls in the secondary. Like, there's a couple plays out there, but I think we have the ability to compete for a Big 12 championship, just like, we left this game last year after we lost. Like, we felt like we were still in a position to win the Big 12.
Yeah. Las Vegas Dudley here, Oklahoma fan. I love Overshown, and I'm a Sooners fan. I would take him on our defense every day. He's a beast. The thing we get with Overshown is he is really good in pursuit to the football, but sometimes his pursuit puts him in bad positions where he's not able to make the tackle. That's the only flaw that I really see. When you look at Overshown each and every weekend, I think his over pursuit, and I think you brought it up, Cowboys just released someone from the football, from Dallas Cowboys just released someone just for that reason. You know what I'm saying?
Jalen Smith, yeah.
Jalen Smith,
because, nowhere.
Yeah, because you over pursue. That's a flaw that DeMarvin Overshown's got to fix. But again, he's been playing linebacker. He's playing safety his entire life. Then all of a sudden he spins down. Chris Ash spins him down to linebacker. Those intricacies are going to come with more he plays. I'm telling you, head over heels where DeMarvin Overshown was last year as a linebacker compared to where he is right now are two different people. Way too
agree.
Yeah. Had another one here. I think it was from David Williams because the job of your defensive line is to be able to keep these linemen off of your linebackers.
Linebackers, yep.
Yeah. And I can't find it here. David Williams, linebackers are converted safety and a walk-on. That's what you had. That's what I'm saying. So you're those guys weren't recruited to play linebacker at the college level. You know what I'm saying? Linebackers are not really the issue. I do think the defensive line needs to play up to their potential. It would help the linebackers more. And I think it's, again, run gap integrity. Are you over pursuing to the ball? Are you going too far up the field that now you're out of your gap, which allows these large running lanes that, Arkansas took advantage of. If you go back to the TCU game, number 6 took advantage of it. You know what I'm saying? And now Oklahoma was able to take advantage of it with these large run lanes. And I think it comes back to gap integrity and how your defensive linemen should be able to beat the guy that's in front of him so that they can make plays. If you go look at these really good teams like Georgia and Alabama, and there's a whole host of other ones, their defensive line manhandle the offensive lineman on the other side of the ball. They're pushing them back 3 or 4 yards. But I think that's going to come with learning the scheme, too, because I think you do have dogs out there. I really think you got dogs on the defensive line. But I think they just have to play to the potential in which they're not playing to right now.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. Like Coburn has to play better. T'Vondre Sweat has to play better. You know, Vernon Broughton has to play better. Alfred Collins has to play better. Like you hit the nail on the head. Like they protect the linebackers. And if they don't, then we're not able to make tackles and 26 plus big carries. And he's carrying the football down the field, you know, on the last second of the football game. But at the same time, like you said, I believe we have the ability to do that. It's just one of those two things.
So I can tell you, me and Jeremy are not going to fall off over this really heartbreaking loss to Oklahoma. Not going to do it. I'm not going to make excuses for allowing our team to let them come back after you had them down, 28-7 in the first half, and you look like you're going to run away with it. Retweet my 2 cents is talking about, so what is good? Keep me excited the rest of the season. I think you have an opportunity, the way that your offensive plays, the way that your defense shows up for parts of the game, to be able to put together a run to see these guys back in Dallas. Am I wrong?
Nope. And Robert's kind of with you. Watching this show, win or lose, is good for my mental health. It settles my emotions, and I love it. And it sucks for us, dude. I'll tell you, for all these guys who are on here listening right now, you should probably send us $1 super chat. I'm totally joking, because it's hard to come on this show 10 minutes after, your team loses the most important game of the football season. And to try to talk, analytics, and this guy did this and this guy did that without watching film. It's on pure adrenaline and focus that we come out here and do this. We're the only channel I think that you'll find that comes on, 10 minutes after the game. But we make no excuses. I know these guys out here talking about we're making excuses. No, we're just talking about what we saw during the football game, and really appreciate you guys hopping on afterwards to share the emotion that we feel at the same time.
I just think the future's bright. That makes sense.
Yeah,
it's a weird dynamic right now. Like usually I'm like, if you were to go back and look at the post game from Oklahoma and Texas last year, it was a disaster. It was one of the first losses we took. And then me and Jeremy got to get on here. That damn show was a disaster. But I actually feel like, and I don't believe in moral victories by any sort of imagination, but I don't think it's as bad as it's been over the last 10 years when you look at this team.
No, absolutely not, dude. That's what I'm saying. If you would have finished out this game, and again, you're up 28-7 to end the first quarter, and you lost the football game by a combined total of, let me do the math real quick, and this is dangerous, but by a combined total of 23 plus 28 plus 48, 41 to 20 over the last 3 quarters. You lost the football game 41-20 over the last 3 quarters, but you had, you jumped up 28-7 on a football team that everybody thought was, a top 5 team in the country, which we believe they are as well. And like you said, I think the ability is there with Casey Thompson. The ability is there with Bijan Robinson. The ability is there with Xavier Worthy. You just got to shore up your offensive defensive line. That's my thoughts at this point.
Yeah, I think it's a trench game. And it's a trench game moving where you're going to be moving to soon. It's all going to be a trench game. Do I think you can – your offense, the way that it's working right now with probably a D- line is crazy to me. That is crazy to me. That you can go out there and score 50 points damn near every game with a line that is probably working at a D- level. Just think about that. Going back to David Williams, his talking point. You're running out there with a converted safety and a walk-on linebacker that's currently playing on the defensive side of the ball. This team only gets better with development and recruiting. And I think you have the coaches in place that are going to be able to develop the guys that they get. And I damn sure know that they're going to be able to recruit. You got the number 2 recruiting class in the country right now. Obviously, a whole bunch of guys, they probably have a lot less dudes than you do in the recruiting class. So that's what it always goes back to, right? But you have some dudes to the recruiting. We just need to close those last 6 spots out with the guys like your Devin Campbells, because you have the Cole Hudsons. There's a reason they want those guys to come here, because they're nasty. Go watch their film. They're nasty. So I really just think this team comes down to development and recruiting. Obviously, recruiting is the lifeblood of your program. and that's how you're going to move forward. But to think that these coaches need to be gone today is it's ludicrous to me.
I agree. You ready to wrap it up, brother?
Yeah, Las Vegas Dudley here, man. I just want to thank you for your super chat. I think I'm not mistaken. I think he's an Oklahoma guy. So we appreciate you getting on here. Man, there's a lot of pros from Oklahoma think that it's trolling or it's BS. But to me, I think they see what Texas has an opportunity to be, especially after that first quarter today, because I'm pretty sure that they were probably looking like us in the second half. They were doing the same thing, thinking, oh my God, this damn thing's about to get away from us. And then all of a sudden it's, their team showed up in the second half, made the adjustment and we'll move there. So one thing here, Texas beat TCU on the road last week, which they have not done in a decade. They should have won today. If Texas beats OSU next week, the team can go on a run and compete for the Big 12 championship. Absolutely. And we're going to leave it there, man. Again, heartbreaking loss. Thank you for those words, David Williams, because that is exactly where I'm at right now. Because we wouldn't have been here. We wouldn't have been here 2, 3, 4 years ago. You know what I'm saying? With this team 5 years ago. And I just think there's a different feeling about what this coaching staff can do moving forward. And I don't have the fear that they're not going to show up next week, because they've shown that they can take a tough loss, and then show up and come back and then win multiple games in a row. So I think we got a super chat here. I think another one. Let me get down here. I am heartbroken about the SEC comment. I mean, the SEC chants at game day, though. Come on, man, give it some time. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we screaming SEC? And I don't know if you realize, but the game day crew, I think that it just means more. I think that's the way they started the broadcast this morning with the SEC narrative, but it just means more. That's the way they started. I'm not sure if you caught that. Wes Bearden, thank you for continuing your stream and keep the positive narrative. I don't think it's so much about being positive. I think Jeremy's right. I think, there's times to take the burnt orange glasses off and be realistic. But at the same time, again, it's not the end of the world. You lost a close one that you probably shouldn't have lost in Dallas today to Oklahoma. Pretty good Oklahoma team. We'll see where they finish out. And you just kind of go from here, man. You put your big boy pants on and you move into next week, just like we're going to do, and get ready for Oklahoma State at home. You're back at home, which is a good thing too. You go back to DKR.
Yeah, you have no choice. Like I said, you got to show up to practice tomorrow. If they're going to practice, probably going to sit in the hot tub and relax and watch film. And then Monday they're going to practice. Tuesday they're going to practice. Wednesday they're going to practice. Like I said, they got to host Oklahoma State next Saturday. And you can't let one loss become two. We talked about this after the Arkansas game, and they didn't. It's Rice, at home, so you didn't really feel like that was an opportunity. But, yeah, you got to pull your big boy pants up and get ready to fight against Oklahoma State, because I really believe that you have an opportunity to play this team again in December when it really matters, and that's, picking up a trophy. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
One last one from Oklahoma guy, but y'all don't want to talk about recent past. Y'all go way back. Hell, I ain't talking about way back. Y'all like back to back Big 12 championships. Until somebody knocks you off the top of the mountaintop. It is what it is.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever disrespected Oklahoma. I think we walked into this podcast respecting Oklahoma. So if you're looking to start a fight with us, then it's not going to happen, man. Because we talk ball. We understand, X's and O's. We understand football. It's not a trash talk channel. That's not what we come here to do. We come here to talk about X's and O's and how we got beat today, 55-48. So, yeah, we'll see you soon.
Absolutely, man. All right, so that's the end of this podcast. We appreciate you joining or jumping on here with us this afternoon after that tough loss. Hopefully it helped y'all out a little bit. We'll be back next week. We'll see where the road takes us. I don't want to promise any days of content or any of those other things because me and Jeremy's schedule has been hectic as hell. I didn't drop any F-bombs, I don't think, right? I think I came in here and I said, Jeremy, you're going to have to apologize if I drop any F-bombs. I don't think I did it, which was really, really, really good. So let me take this comment off here from him, and then we'll go ahead and close out. Put our nice little banners up here, our little information promotions up here before we get off here. So again, we're presented by DraftKings. You can type in promo code TPBN, see what special especially they have
Offers.
offers under that promo code TPN. Thank you, Jeremy. But you can find us at Facebook at Texas Football Talk. You can find us on Instagram at Texas Football Talk. And hey, we're always on Twitter, so you can hang out with us that is there as well at TX Football Talk. Thank you for listening to us as always, and y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend and hook 'em.
Hook 'em.